And thank you here today. As indicated, my name is Jack Clark. I represent the Transportation Learning Center. You have background on me and the organization in your written materials. I look forward to sharing more on that in the question period, but right now I want to focus on the core problem that I'm here to address, and the committee, I believe, needs to address as well, the workforce crisis in public transportation. Approximately 400,000 people work in public transportation. 90% of them are moving vehicles or maintaining those vehicles and the systems required to keep transit running. In every transit agency, large and small, new technologies are changing the way work needs to be done. I share a small but revealing story from several years back when I was dealing with a general manager at a medium-sized transit agency, completing a bus purchase. He heard from the vendor asking, "How many laptops would you like?" And he initially thought this was some kind of bonus for his office staff, until he realized that those laptops were key, essential tools for his bus mechanics. Those laptops diagnose and keep track of all sorts of problems in the engine, and they also keep track of advanced electronic and multiplexing systems that have been common in buses for more than a decade. The skills needed for people maintaining rail cars, signaling, electrical power systems, and other systems are even more advanced than what bus mechanics need to know. In the face of all those challenges, both the age and the skill mix, transit spends far too little on training. Taking a look simply at the percentage of payroll devoted to training, the Paris Metro, which is a one-to-one comparison, spends about 8% of its payroll. The Federal Highway Administration sets a goal of 3% of its payroll for its contractors should go to training. Transit spends, the average transit agency spends between 0.66 and 0.88% of its payroll on training. There are some bright spots. My organization works a lot to develop registered apprenticeship as a solution to the transit skills crisis. We think it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of support for apprenticeship across both aisles in Congress and now across two administrations. There's also a lot of support for apprenticeship around the world. It's simply a common sense solution which says there's technical training you can learn in a classroom and a lot you can learn in a very highly structured on-the-job learning environment. And we're seeing some progress in some areas on developing those apprenticeship programs. We're also seeing some obstacles. I would note just in passing that while we're talking about a transit skills crisis here, and I note Associated General Contractors is also on this panel, we won't be hearing about a similar skills crisis on the highway construction side because registered apprenticeship works there. It's a system that the organized building trades and the contractors have developed for over a century, and it delivers a skilled workforce. It also delivers very highly developed pre-apprenticeship programs that allow opportunities for underrepresented populations to come into the workforce and into highly skilled jobs. Transit in its apprenticeship programs need to develop similar programs. The profile of the skilled worker in transit is still older white males. And it's both a moral imperative and a practical necessity that transit develop a more diverse workforce in its skilled ranks. I would note that the transit, other people have noted this, the transit workforce is much older than the average workforce. The average transit worker is almost 51, compared to the average worker across all industries being about 40, 41, 42. That means that the demographic crisis is quite severe. I thank you for your time. I have more in my written testimony. I would ask that you include human capital and specific metrics in human capital and reauthorization, authorize a national transit frontline workforce resource that could be function like the National Transit Institute, and that the mandate that FTA work closely with other federal agencies, particularly the Department of Labor and Office of Career Technical Education, on workforce issues. And in all the work that the Congress is doing, remember that workforce is a key part of what needs to happen in infrastructure. It's not going to happen without a skilled workforce.